Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi, Kenneth.
Hey, how you doing?
Kenneth.
Hey, Kenneth.
Good
Hi,
evening.
Kenneth.
Hi. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are.
Hey, Kenneth.
How's it going? Um, so there's a sense that you are a person, you are an individual that's completely unquestioned, goes unquestioned. You feel you're born into the world. Um, you have your parents, maybe your siblings, your family, your friends. You go through school. You have a sense that there's a world out there and that you're in it, and then you're negotiating your way through it. There's life and there's my life, there's me and my life. And this is a really felt feeling of being in the body, behind the eyes, maybe, or that it's your body, that it's your life, and that you have to make the most of it. So you're negotiating through life, usually best described or often described as a sense of kind of moving forward towards something, into a future and a past that's behind us. And in that we have choice, we have volition, there's time, space, there's all these other aspects that we take to be absolutely real. And that's the way it is for most people. It's a sense that there's life and there's my life. So when there's my life, then you got to make the most of that and make the best life you can. And everybody's story is totally unique. So their idea of making it successful is unique to them. But within this story, there's a story of success and what that means. Often getting a good bit of money, maybe power, acknowledgement, a career, rising through the levels, whatever it is. And a lot of people are quite, maybe content is the wrong word, but they're within that story. They're just lost in that story, and there's just a playing out of that sense of being a person and making the most of their life. There can be a sensitivity to an other possibility, and that's what we're going to be speaking about. Sharing. It's a sharing. This is just a description. It's not a prescriptive message communication. It's not a teaching of any kind. It's simply a description of the obvious. That sensitivity can be for a sense that there's something within that story of me and my life and making my life work. There's a sensitivity that there's something not quite right with that. There's something other than that. There's something other than making the next promotion, then climbing the ladder, then getting the big house, then whatever it is. And then that sensitivity arises to seek something that will address this feeling of absence or a void or a question that something is not quite as it should be. And then then people, if they see that what they're looking for is not to be found in material gain, they'd maybe go down a spiritual route and feel that it's within them somehow. So what they're seeking is somehow within them. And they have acres and miles and infinite numbers of teachers who can tell them that, you know, if you're to boil it all down, it's all kind of converging on oneness and wholeness, and that you are feeling separate, and that we can show you how to be not separate. We can show you how to be whole. We can show you oneness. Or whatever it is. These are prescriptive messages. Mostly that's what's found, or more commonly now, maybe more kind of psychotherapy style kind of self-help things that will induce an experience of maybe oneness and wholeness that you can integrate into your life, or so on. What's different about what's been shared here is that this is not being spoken to any individual. There's no individual recognized here whatsoever, because actually all there is already just wholeness. All there is energy, nothing being everything. This is already it. It's very simple, ordinary, and open. And this is shared from nothing. There's nothing on offer here. There's nothing to get. So this is the story of the individual that has this sensitivity and can yearn for something and to get something. And what's being said here quite clearly is that there's nothing to get. There's nowhere to get. There's nobody to get anything, and it's already simply the case that there's wholeness and oneness. It's already simply this, and that's how it appeared to hide, by already just being everything. You as a person, an apparent person, continually search and therefore reject already what is in favor of what might be. So we'll share about that, and we'll talk about it, and any questions that come from nothing, and the answer comes from nothing. But the questions are really they're there to be asked. There's an energy to asking a question, but really what's being shared is all to do with an energy. It's not to do with any kind of understanding or knowing. There's nothing to get. There's nothing to know. It's a resonance. What's being shared and described, it's indescribable, but pointed towards maybe is already known completely, because you are already that. You are already wholeness. So it's totally known already. It's like a remembering of childlike wonder and innocence. And everything is new. Hi, Yasmin.
Hi, Kenneth. So rather than a question, I just wanted to comment on something that I just realized. So with this resonance, it seems as though there is less of a, like, for example, things play out as they play out, right? Like in the parent story, in something that happens, your reaction according to your conditioning or whatever. And then it feels as though there is just, everything is lighter in a sense. There's less of a story around the story. Like there's a reaction, let's say an upset, for example, but it just kind of flows through you, or it just, that's how it feels here. Like it's less of a, like thinking about it later, or building a whole other story around it, or clinging to the whole thing. It just kind of passes through you, the emotion, whether it be, it could be something positive, or also like an upset, like crying or anger. It can be very intense in that moment, but it's just then boom, it's like gone. It's not like 2 hours later still, oh, what happened or whatever. It's just it's like there is less of a stickiness.
Yeah, the word stickiness is used quite a lot actually for when there's a person and there's anger, it's your anger, it's the person's anger. So therefore there's all this stickiness to that. It's my anger. How can I do something about it, get rid of it? What's it coming from? Where does it come from? Understanding it, so on and so forth. When that sense of being a separate person is no longer, there's only what's appearing to happen. And if there's anger, then there's just anger, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's the same and it's totally different.
Yeah, also like, or with sadness, just like crying, and then it just kind of stops, and it's not like, or there's also a sense of like, it couldn't be any other way. Like it's not that much of a, oh, why is it this way? Or
Yeah, that's totally to do with the person. That person feels that things aren't quite right. There's something not quite, it could be always better. There's the same sense of feeling that it's always going to be around the next corner. So it's there's a rejection of some of what's happening and an embracing of other things, but it's a continual kind of play of pulling in pleasure and pushing away pain and discomfort. In actuality, then, when there's no longer a sense of being separate, anything that happens is obviously it. So if it's pain and sadness, that's what's appearing to happen. So that just completely collapses, like trying to have one thing over another, or feeling that, well, there's something wrong with this now. That's directly out of that apparent separate self. So there's just an in loveness then with what's appearing to happen.
Exactly. Yeah. There's
And if that's sadness, then that's sadness. And it can't be, it's very, very obvious that it can't be any other way, because that wanted it to be another way is no longer there.
Yeah, there's this lightness around what's happening, or yeah.
And what's happening isn't happening either.
What's apparently
that's the
happening.
crazy thing. Yeah, I mean, it's happening for me. Things are happening for me. And really what that's about is that they're happening to me. So that's the person feels like they're moving through life. There's life and there's me with my life, and there's this happen and then this happen and this, it's all sequential and linear. And in actuality, when there's no longer a person, or it seemed there never was a person, that sense of something happening to me is obviously not there anymore, because there's nobody there to have an experience. So everything is nothing and nothing is everything. There's nothing actually happening.
It's more like
It's
a
insane. It's
dreamlike
crazy.
feeling, or it's kind
It's
of
not
dreamlike.
describable. There's the appearance of things to happen, but that realness falls out of it, because the realness that's in something happening is to do with you being real. It's that subject object dynamic, that I'm real and that's a real car over there and that car is going there, and then that happened and these things are happening, and the person lives in that real, in the real, only in the real. And there's something very dissatisfying about that perception, because it's an imprisonment of me and the object. There's me and the car, there's me and my wife, there's me and my child, there's me and the boss, there's me and the tree, there's me and the flower, there's me and the sunset. Everything is related in that sense. And there's something not right about it. Not right is the wrong word, but the right is the wrong word. There's something dissatisfying about it, because it's not the actual way things are.
Yeah.
And there's that sense of and that's what's yearned for, is to see actually as things actually are, which is nothing being everything and everything being nothing, and nothing actually happening. And that sense of everything being real totally collapses then, and it's not, you could say it's real and unreal, or you could say it's not real or unreal, which is really two ways of saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's almost
And
like
it's not describable. It's just everything is nothing and nothing is everything. And it's then the newness and everything, then everything is obviously just new. It never happened before, and it will never happen again. This will never happen again, because it's
yes,
not even happening. But
yes,
the person
yes.
feels like, oh, this is a talk on a Zoom, and this happened last Sunday or this Sunday, or just to pick the Zoom example, there's that kind of sense of repetition to things and kind of a staleness.
Yeah, there's like a dreamlike quality, I think, and also I don't know that like the perception regarding what you were saying, like relating, like relationships change in a way. Like, what is a relationship, or you
Oh,
know
there's no
how?
relationship whatsoever.
Yeah.
There's just brothering and fathering and whatever. You could put it that way if you want, but actually relationship is if you think about relationship, it's separate things that relate. So separate things relate to each other. So that when there's no longer that sense of being separate, there's a scene that no thing, that there is no separation anywhere. So there's no relating at all. And but see, we think relation is terribly important because we feel it gets us, to maybe that sense of connectedness can get us to something bigger than us. It's totally logical. I mean, that's the way it feels for the person. And there's there's no.
And yet there's, yeah, this constant newness, as you say, like this every moment. Yeah.
Everything is new. Yeah. It's an indescribable and totally ordinary. Absolutely ordinary and simple and just as it is. And that's why it's always overlooked, always overlooked, always overlooked. It can't just be this for the person. This is just this, so there's nothing happening. Because the person wants special and, but this is, when seen by nobody, is more stunning than any idea of liberation or anything. It's not describable.
Hey, Kenneth.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. You know what I'm just noticing from what you were saying is, right, like the person thinks because they consider themselves to be real, there is no newness, right? It's there, right? So like walking down the street seems like, oh, it's something I do all the time and I'm a real person and I'm walking down the street, rather than, there's just walking down the street. Well, I can't even describe it, but it's like we consider it something totally mundane that happens all the time, that of course I'm walking down the street. Whereas I think what you're saying is, it's so miraculous. It's such a mystery that this body is apparently shuffling down the street. Like, what is that? You know what I mean? It's like, I think we take it as just something that I've always been doing for 57 years. I've been walking around, but it's like, it really is, it's so simple and miraculous that these clumps of bones are cruising around on a street somewhere on a planet somewhere in the middle of, we don't even know where,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but I mean that idea that it's new and that it's that it's incredible that we're walking down the street and all of that. That's, for me, that feels like it's like an understanding of, this is amazing. Like, life is not stale and it's amazing. But that's like a personal realization. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what's being spoken about here. Like that, it's absolutely impersonal, completely unknowable. That's the newness that's been spoken of. And it's not describable really. It's terribly ordinary and obvious, but it's not describable. And it's the immediacy, you see. It's totally the immediacy of what is when and isn't, when there's no longer a filter of me, kind of a me filtering it. And that
Yeah.
sense that there's whatever's happening, and then there's me then. So then there has to be that sense of when there's something separate from what's happening, then what's appearing to happen isn't seen.
Yeah.
So it's just an abstraction for to that sense that it's separate. Like, I mean, of course, the person could start even logically thinking that, wow, isn't life amazing? And you see those realizations all the time. Like, it's incredible that this is appearing to happen and we can fly through the sky and so on and so forth. But that's a different kind of thing. This newness is just indescribable. Yeah. It's really that it's not like, oh, it's incredible that I'm walking down the street and that there's a street here and that this is a city and that there's cars that can move and there's engineering. It's that you're not walking down the street and there's no street. So it's like, yeah, it's not describable.
Yeah. I see. I think in a way I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's like it's so beyond, you can't even talk about it.
Yeah, it's beyond. It's not beyond in a kind of esoteric, terribly hard to understand, like up there kind of beyond. It's not even beyond really. It's so immediately just this, that it just totally can't be, it's understood, or it's just immediately just hands clapping, voice speaking. It's just the immediacy of this, which is without separation. But when it feels that I'm separate, it's a really felt feeling that you're separate. Then there's the what's appearing to happen, and there's me that it's happening to.
Right.
And that's what we're sharing here, is that sense of that the me that it's happening to is artificial.
Yeah.
So we're speaking about what's being shared is that there's a wholeness there is just wholeness. There's no you. There never has been a you, and it's not that there's a you that might fall away and there'll only be oneness. Nothing will happen because you're not even there to begin with to fall away.
Right. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Susanna. Hi, Heidi.
Hi, Kenneth. Hi. Hi.
Oh, yeah.
So that's great because I was in a talk with Nahu, and it touched me because there was so clear. It's really a resonance, and this resonance is not do not belongs to a person. I can realize this now. I speak with you or with Tim or with Nahu, or I'm in this room, and it's this resonance. And for all, I suddenly can remember that this resonance was there before, although there is no before. But what I can see also is that this resonance is like floating back into my daily life. So if I cannot tell it in a different way, it's like I, as the woman told ago, I think it was Yasemin. It is like there are thoughts that comes up, and I just realize just thoughts, and the resonance stays and it is all like floating away. It's really not good possible to describe what happens then.
It's completely, totally, and utterly impossible to describe. I can't describe
it. Yeah,
what's being suggested here is not
yeah,
describable by anybody and never has been.
yeah,
It's so
yeah.
it's so obvious
Okay,
and
yeah.
ordinary and already the case that you can't. It's totally indescribable, and yet it's just already just. It's just already this. It's nothing. It's never been anything else. It's sitting in a chair, speaking, a thought. It's stunning because what we yearn for as separate people, we have as apparent separate people, is some idea of that would make us complete, some concept of enlightenment or some drive to fill some void through money, sex, gambling, whatever the kick is, power, whatever it is. And what we're yearning for all the time, always, is simply just what appears to be happening.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's stunning.
It's
just simply already this.
Absolutely.
It's just already this, and it's not. It's totally indescribable.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's completely inescapable as well. It's not that there's a Zoom meeting here that some character can point towards something that's not describable and boom, it might be seen or whatever. It's just there's no Zoom meeting. There's no. It's completely inescapable. It's already whatever, and within that, then that sense of being a separate self, that contracted energetic sense of being a separate self, will just play out as it plays out until possibly until the death of the body.
And for me, there is a cruelty inside for me that happens then, because it's really not possible to hold it, how this all do not have to mean anything at all. It's a cruelty.
It is what it is for the person.
It is what it is.
For every apparent person, it's different. So it just plays out like it does for the person. But it's a deeply unsatisfactory perception of feeling in here and a world out there. I was at the beginning, I spoke about the sensitivity. There's sensitivity to that can be stronger or lesser, and if it's lesser, then there can be just a lost in that story, and there's just what's happening. Be it a particularly, could be kind of happy enough life or a not so happy life or whatever, but there's not so much of an opening to a kind of something other, and there are a sensitivity to something other. And that's just the way it is. Now, the way it appears to be is that sensitivity is more, and there's more of a kind of, it seems to be resonating more, that this sense that I'm a person and I have a life, and there's a world in which I move and negotiate and relate, and there's authority and all of that. That's kind of fundamentally being questioned, I think. And you see that in lots of ways, like political questioning of political power, all sorts of power is being questioned. Like why they don't, not really seeing, people aren't seeing the power or accepting that power as much as before. And as that, there's definitely more of an opening. And it can resonate, but it's totally and utterly, completely beyond understanding. It's nothing to do with understanding, which the person is understanding. The person is a closed loop of knowing. That's what the person is. It's this dualistic. The person is dualism, is that play of opposites, good, bad, right, wrong, up, down, special, not special, all of that, and
one of the nicest things I have with that is this empty fullness and this fully emptiness. This is this is the nearest for me how
Yeah,
I
so
can
that's a nice,
describe
it's a
it.
lovely description. Yeah, it's a lovely way
Yeah,
of saying it.
yeah,
Is empty fullness is lovely. I love that.
yeah,
Love,
yeah,
I love empty fullness. Yeah, I
yeah,
love it.
yeah,
Empty
yeah, yeah,
fullness.
yeah,
I know it's lovely. Yeah, it's because it is. You
yeah,
see, the person lives
yeah,
in the something. It sees something,
yeah,
always something, only something.
yeah,
And
yeah,
reality, that's what we were saying earlier. They lives in the real, and the no thing is not seen and cannot be seen.
yeah,
It's totally impossible.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then when there's that sense of being a person apparently falls away,
Falls
and that
away. Yeah.
energetically nothing is suddenly boom, and everything
Boom.
is
Yeah.
nothing and nothing is everything. And this is then
Yeah.
it's just there's no, it's obviously just um table, door.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Thought,
it's unknowable. It's totally
feelings.
unknowable.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's that table and door and a
Yeah.
hand and me and friend calling on the phone and
Yeah.
whatever, a thought, an emotion, everything. It's just, it's so obviously
Yeah. Okay.
just
Yeah.
stunningly empty.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
meaningless,
Yeah. Yeah.
beautifully meaningless. Because as when I felt there, it was full of meaning,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
beautifully meaningless. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm. Hi, William.
Hi, Kenneth. How are you?
Good.
Excellent. I'm terrified because I can sense the freedom that's being described here. And at the same time, I don't want to lose me because I feel like I'm losing something precious that I need, which is the me. And I need to hold on to it because I've heard you say it's like your best friend you've known your whole life. There can be sadness. And I feel like the problem is I feel like the me is something real that I am, and it's real. And if it goes, it'll be a real loss. And I don't think there's a question, but I just wanted to say that and see if you said anything back.
No, not really. That's what's happening. Thanks.
Because I get that there's no choice. It's a bit far for me to say there's no one to choose, but I get that there's no choice whether the apparent me stops happening or carries on. But if it stops happening, I feel like, oh shit, what now?
That's what's happening there. There's no me already there. There's nobody just spoke there. There's nobody sitting on a couch there. It's already the case that there's no separation. So nothing would happen. There's not,
So basically you're saying not to worry about it.
I'm not saying that, no. If worry is happening, who would I say not to worry? Who would I be talking to? Worry may happen, and that would also be it. Thank you.
Pardon?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, what I wanted to say is that there's absolutely no escaping this. Whatever's arising, there's no way of escaping
No,
what's
of
arising.
course not. No.
Oh, this is not good for the me. All right, thank you.
Thanks. What are my thoughts on someone like Jordan Peterson? Is psychotherapy futile? I mean, I don't have any thoughts on Jordan Peterson. Life Jordan Peterson's, that's what happens. And it's a nice example of what I was saying earlier on, of that when you feel like a person, there are messages, teachings, communications that will tell you how to best live your life and tell you how you can feel whole and complete in many different ways. If they're spiritual, it's more about oneness and wholeness. If it's Jordan Peterson, it's more about a life fully lived, maybe, or so on. He has his 12 rules. So I mean, if you're attracted to, if a character is attracted to Jordan and attracted to the 12 rules and wants to keep his bedroom really tidy, and his life will just work out when then that's what's happening. That's what's appearing to happen. And it can be seen that all of that endeavor is totally and utterly futile, and there's nothing in it. And yeah. Hi Ariana.
Hi.
Hey.
Just a random question. Just a random question. So if someone's blind, have you ever, like, if someone was blind, this apparent thing, it must be different, right?
I don't know. I don't really
or do
know.
you I wonder if there's
I think
yeah.
I think it that sense of being separate is an energetic sense of feeling separate that seems to be run out of the brain, but is an embodied sense of being separate. And whether you're taking in visual stimuli or not, I don't know if that's really matters, because it's a sense that when you feel separate, that it's your thought, it's your emotion, it's your smell, it's your touch. It's not, so sight is one of the senses, and just because that's not there doesn't mean that the sense of separation wouldn't be there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting. Anyways, that's just a random question, just thinking
There's
about.
a lovely film by Val Kilmer's in it, and it's about this man who was blind from birth. I don't know what's it called. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a nice movie, because he's blind from birth, and he undergoes this procedure, a new procedure that gives him sight. So he sees for the first time at first sight. Yeah, Andy, that was quick. So basically he sees for the first time, and he's just blown away. And it always struck me that I can't remember exactly what happens in the movie, but effectively he comes to the conclusion that people aren't seeing life as it actually is at all. And he has all these questions about people's interaction and what's wrong with people. He didn't understand. It's just something not quite right. And then he loses his sight again. And he speaks about that at the end. And that's what he says, is that he felt more alive in one way when he was blind, and he felt that he saw life as it actually was more than people with sight. And it always kind of struck me that that's in a way that, like we were saying a while ago, that like people they're in this reality that they take to be absolutely real, and actually the natural way things are is not seen at all. So they can't actually see a sunset or a friend or a tree or whatever. It's not actually seen because it's imprisoned in that sense of them seeing it. So
yeah, wow, amazing.
And then when that sense of not being there, or when that sense of being separate isn't there, it's seen you're never actually were there, and everything is just indescribably boundless, and it's oneness. It's nothing being everything.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, pretty much. That's just like, yeah. I just continually just wow. But anyways,
you still gonna around with your mouth open.
yeah, it's just yeah, so I don't know.
Welcome to unknowing. It's exciting.
And I'm listening, and everything I'm like, you're saying, it just like, I'm gonna end up coming to these meetings for the next 50 years, because like every time it just Oh my gosh. Well,
Well,
everything, but
well, you're not coming to the
well, yeah,
meeting,
yeah,
so it doesn't matter, and there's no meeting, and you'd be surprised. It doesn't matter at all because there's no meeting, and there's no you going to the meetings, and because there's nothing to get anymore. There's nothing to get, so it either appears to happen or it doesn't. It doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
matter at all. That it doesn't matter at all, at all, at all. It's just yeah.
It's just unreal. Like, it's not even real and unreal. It's just unfreaking real. Like,
Yeah,
like
it's the it's the fullness of it. It's just totally indescribable.
it's
And it's not, it's
unbelievable.
completely, totally and utterly beyond what you would have thought it is. So when the person hears this, the parent individual, there's an idea of what's being said, and it's rubbish compared to
Yeah.
they're now no longer being a sense of being a person.
Well, yeah, because like I thought it was some special fancy hallucination that will like just continue on, but it's all the same. So now I'm saying like I'm just looked like an idiot talking about how amazing like something is, and everyone's like, yeah, yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
because if you try to describe it, you're describing the ordinary. You're just
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly like if if you're describing this to people who feel if they feel like people, they just it's just they can't. I mean, there has to be a resonance with this. I mean, there has to be. There doesn't have to be, but what if there's a description or an attempted description of the natural way things are and aren't, it's if there's a person listening to it, it's just totally, it's complete rubbish. It's complete rubbish because they're living in the special, not special. So you're describing, you know, I don't know, a door that, did you see the way that door just closed and the way that guy just walked over there? Did you just see that? Are you seeing this? And they're looking at you going like, you're totally fucking insane. What are you talking about? Like the door fucking closed and the guy walked. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Because they're in that reality of things are happening to them. So there's nothing remarkable about that door closing or that guy walking over there. What are you talking about? And there's somewhere to get to where with everything. So it's impossible. The person cannot hear this at all. So
yeah,
when it's shared, it really is an energetic resonance and an openness, in a sense. There's this openness, and then what's being suggested here can totally resonate.
yeah,
And it can also resonate and be there can at the same time be a real sense of confrontation to that feels like a person that really does not want
yeah,
this. So
yeah,
all both, well, and everything in between as well.
yeah. It can be like I was shaking and I was afraid to die, and I was just like I was just yeah very
And then boom, you were never there. Nothing dies. It's incredible.
you come to life. You come to life.
Yeah, really, you come to, yeah. Because you think you're afraid of dying because you're living. You feel like you're living and you have a life. And then you're afraid.
Yeah,
What you're afraid of actually is your absence. You're
yeah,
afraid of not being there. And that's the big joke.
yeah,
That's the big joke. You never were.
yeah. But it's this really weird thing that doesn't like. It's this really weird, brutal, just brutal thing. Well, just that's for this character and stuff. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
everything.
it was. It can be brutal, yeah.
Yeah.
It can be anything.
But
It can be it can be more gentle. It can be brutal. It plays, it kind of it is what it is. It appears, yeah.
yeah.
It's not
And
any
then
kind, it's not any kind of way. It can be, there can be huge pain, there can be huge sadness, and then that's what's happening there.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be.
yeah, just anything. And then I was but now I feel I have no like I was my friends got me to watch this religious movie, and just these kids go to this religious camp and this Jesus camp, and the whole time I was just like saying, like, there was no filter for this character, so it was just the whole time just really shitting on the movie. And there was no filter, and then that was that played out the way it played out. But anyways,
you're not going to get
but
any more movie night invites then.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh geez, because the words just, there's no gap, like the words just blah blah blah, blah. The words,
yeah, because there's no longer anyone speaking, or there's nobody speaking there. There's no, it's that immediacy to everything. Whereas when you feel like a person and you're at a thing called a movie night, and these people are your friends, then everything is kind of measured a bit, and there's all these games that go on about meeting agendas of, I don't want to offend this person, and there's the neurotic kind of layers that go on over what's appearing to happen once you feel and it all feels so real for the person that that and it's so there's a heaviness to all of it, whereas when there's no longer that sense of a person, there's boom. There's no worrying about what someone would think, because there's nobody over there to think anything. So if someone is offended, they're offended. If they're not, they're not.
But it's just the weirdest, because it's the most blindly thing. It's like the most obvious thing, but it's also the most not obvious. It's so weird, because it's like a light switch. It's like, well, it's just dark, and then it's just like obvious, and then it's just, you know what I'm saying?
It's more obvious than you could ever even begin to describe, because it's already, that's the whole thing about it. It's appearing to hide by already just being everything. So because it's already the case that there's just wholeness and oneness, and then the energy that feels like a person continually kind of searches for something else, and it's the very searching for something that rejects what's being actually sought. So it's a continual kind of rejection of what's already sought in favor of. And that's that sense, like you see that description all the time of people describing this kind of sense of one, always kind of trying to get to something that's just outside their reach. It's just around the next corner, and can never quite get there. Or if you get there, it's a transient kind of thing, and a temporal thing, and then it's back to yearning for it again, And it's that's the big joke. It's just this, and it's always been just whatever it appears to be.
It's very unreal. It's just oh geez. But it seems like you can just, like, it's the weirdest thing, because then I tell people, like, I talk a conversation about, well, I don't have it, blah blah blah, but having a conversation about this, and I'm saying this, and you kind of see, like, people kind of know, like, it appears that people know exactly what's being pointed at.
Energetically, if it resonates,
but then they keep going around, okay, but
the mind will get a hold of it. So that's what it is that all there is just energy. All there is unconditional love, whatever words you want to use. Oneness, wholeness. So everyone already is that. And then, so that's why when it's suggested or shared from nothing, because it's nothing to do with any character, it's nobody's message, it's not even a message, it's just boom, from nothing. And then it's boom, you can see it just resonate. You can just see it just resonates. And then boom, then the person's trying to get it then. And then they're like, well, yeah, but. So it's not the person is not spoken to, really. From a clear message, the person is not recognized or spoken to. There's absolutely no interest in the apparent individual whatsoever, and that's compassion. and unconditional love, because you're
Mm.
seen as nothing but already whole and complete, and the person
Mhm.
can never do anything but make something of this and reject it really in one way or another. Cannot hear what's being said at all.
So does it seem sorry, one more thing, does it seem like you know, this message is maybe heard for the first time and there can be a resonance, but then the resonance like kind of pushes a button and then it's it's like, well, not miss, but then what appears to happen is then it's the concept machine, and then just concept and then
Yeah,
it's
there's
just,
no
but then
there's
it
no
resonates.
yeah, there's just no rules to it at all whatsoever. So it's just, it resonates as it resonates, and then it can be that the person apparently grapples with it for till the day they die. It could be that they just it could be, and it could be that it just resonates and boom, you know, and that's it, because nothing actually happens anyway. So you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
say,
the story.
that, oh, this is the way it works, because it doesn't work anyway. It's just that it's completely energetic. It's totally
Oh, yeah.
energetic. And so, you know, it just is, it appears to be engaged with as it's engaged with. So and there's no agenda for it to be heard or not heard or anything. So
Yeah,
it just
wow.
kind of plays out as it plays out. But more now, there's more of an openness to it.
Yeah,
There's more of an openness, yeah.
yeah. Wow. Amazing. Okay. Talk to you later.
Thanks. So I have a message. Can I talk about money and happiness? I mean, yeah. I mean, they're all just things in the story of the parent person. So money is real and unreal. It's what appears to happen. It feels real to the person. It feels absolutely real, and it's a it's a feature of the story of what's appearing to happen. It's in the story that there's money. The person feels that they have more money, they'll have more happiness, obviously, and then you know, that can be played out as it is, and it's seen that no, you know, it's nothing to do with objects or material wealth or any kind of wealth. Happiness is just a state of mind for the person. It's something the person, when they feel separate, they want to, it's like a bubble of me, and they want to fill out this bubble as much as they can and make it as comfortable as possible. And happiness is a concept for the person of feeling complete and content, and whatever that description of it is for, but it's just another thing the person can be or have. And what's being said here is nothing to do with any kind of state of mind or experience whatsoever. Nothing. It's the person that has experiences and has states of mind. So yeah.
Hi, Kenneth.
Hey, Robert.
Hi. When the sense of the person fell away, just a comment. When the sense of the person fell away, because there was never a person there to begin with, but when the sense fell away, there was sort of an indignation. I don't even know what the word means. I'll look it up later, maybe. But a sense of indignation for those with a sense of personhood, their projections. I mean, projections galore. Um, it seems like those with the sense of personhood have this idea that because they like the color red, everyone likes the color red, or because they don't like the color red, everyone should avoid it and make a law against it. And there's a sense of indignation from nobody. It's not coming from me, a sense of me. It's just a sense of total indignation, complete and total. Well, they're both the same thing, but total indignation for anybody's projections. Just a comment. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that though the story, though, it's just a story. So I would say it's almost endearing, that people think that they have a life and that they're in there. There certainly wouldn't be anyone here with any kind of feeling of anything about it, really. It's just an appearance. Because it's not real, it's just appearing to happen. There's no sense of anything about it, really, here. No, not really. It's just what's appearing to happen. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's not anything. It's just that this person feels that they are a person and they have this opinion about this, and then it's just what's appearing to happen. But there's no kind of tie into it. There's no kind of there's no hook into any of it, because it's all just a story. And the stronger it seems, probably the stronger that sense of being an individual is, and the more that living in that reality, that they're in that reality, and that they're trying to integrate you into that reality, probably there's more of a kind of moving away.
Yeah, well,
there's more of a moving away, maybe I'd say, when you're no longer feel there, because there's nobody to be integrated into anything. So it usually kind of causes a bit of upset for the person to be around someone that no longer feels like a person, because they can't figure them out anymore. Their agenda is very frustrated by the lack of energetic feedback from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they look for rebellion sometimes.
They look for, what's happening, what we see now is a huge polarization and dichotomous thinking on everything, which is being commented on in general media all over the place. I mean, you're not allowed to have if you have to have a strong opinion, and it better be my opinion, and you have to be on this side or that side. That's always been there, but it seems to be more stark now. And that's that sense of what we're seeing is that, like, you either are on my side and agree with me, or you're against, of the opposite opinion, and then I can rage against you then. But being in the middle and not really having an opinion is almost offensive now to a lot of people. It's like, get a fucking opinion. Well, I mean, where are you? You're nothing. You're kind of, you're not with me, you're not against me. And I've noticed that becomes really kind of irritating to people.
Oh yeah.
So that's all about, what that's all about is that play of opposites for the individual. So they want to either be on one or the other. Middle ground is kind of no good to me. Don't know what to make of you. You're no good to me, really. Just
they're looking for engagement.
Continually, like, the person is continually looking for engagement, so that it's continually reinforcing that sense of being separate to the world. And it's quite confronting when there's that engagement isn't there.
Yes. Well said. Thanks.
Yeah.
Said. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks. It's all a play of light.
Kenneth.
Eligio.
How you doing?
Good. My contacts are playing
play.
out, man. I always forget to take them out, and then.
Oh, I see. I thought you were bored. I thought you were bored with us.
Or shedding a tear here, wiping my eye.
Oh, you're crying. Yeah. No, the play a light was. I was thinking about the play a light and the offensive of not having a position and no opinion. Like I tell people, hey, I have no opinion, and they're like you said, they get offended. They're like, dude,
yeah, it's almost
some
more.
guts.
It's worse for them that you don't have an opinion.
And then I say, you know
they're
what?
trying to find themselves in relation to
Right.
you, and they can't. It
Yeah.
displaces them a little bit because yeah.
So then to play a light, I'm like, well, in quantum mechanics, there's such a thing as superposition.
Yeah.
So I take the superposition on that.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
That was it, man.
Yeah.
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Kenneth, can I ask something in relation to that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, what Robert was saying previously about people sort of trying to convince you of their opinions, that's something I find very stressful when someone's trying to convince me of an opinion. So would you just say that when the sense of being a person is no longer there, nothing's taken seriously? So if someone's trying to convince you,
but there's nobody even trying to convince you of anything. There's nothing happening. So there's nothing to struggle against. So it's an in loveness with what appears. It's totally indescribable, but it's an in loveness with what appears to be happening. So then if this character is there and some character comes up to this character and says blah blah blah, Biden didn't win the election, Trump won the election, and it's just like, okay, that's what appears to be happening then, or vice versa, whatever. So it energetically, though, it's funny. Energetically, there's a sense that doesn't very happen very much. They kind of energetically, they get a sense that the agenda is not going to be kind of met in some way. So there's an avoidance really of people can't really. It doesn't happen as much, I don't think. But it would just be what would appear to be happening. So it wouldn't be anything. And the apparent reaction would be the apparent reaction. It doesn't. It's all a story anyway. So
I think what it is that I was thinking about, because like feeling like a separate person, if someone tried to convince me their opinion, I'd feel stressed, is because I feel like I've got to defend my point of view or hold on to my opinion as like fact.
Yeah. But what you're doing, what the person does too, is they live in the known, right? So they know what's going to happen when this is going to happen, and they know what's going to happen if another thing kind of happens. And this is that they're living in this reality, and it's stunning because nothing is knowable. It's so immediately just this and always new. Nothing is knowable, and so that all collapses. Like, it's obviously you have to be this person to know that that's what the whole energy being a person is. Oh, yeah, liberation, that's grand, but I feel like a person, and there's not going to be liberation here, or it doesn't fit here, because they're living in the known all the time. Oh, I'd be stressed if I met someone and they said this. That's what would happen there, and this what would happen here, and they're living in the known. Boom, boom, boom. And then when that sense is no longer there of feeling like a person, you have no idea what's going to apparently happen. No, none whatsoever.
That's brilliant, because when there's no sense of knowing what would happen, then there's no sort of way the character or the body feels it has to respond to any situation. It's just completely like, I don't want to use the word.
Well, the character, the body is not. No, there's nobody responding. See, that sense of there being someone responding is gone, because there's no longer a sense of there being anyone in there. It's not describable, but it's already the case that's it, because you're an addition, a false addition to what's apparent to happen anyway. So just sighing, and there's just thoughts and sitting in a chair, and it's very simple. You see, going around in the houses and all the concepts and blah, 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 what's being said here, what's being suggested here is very, very, very simple. It's amazingly simple and ordinary and obvious. It's just already what appears to be. It can't be lost or found
And in that's very simple and ordinary.
or
The-
known or understood.
Right. Well, that answers what I was going to ask.
There you go.
It can't be gotten. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. I was in the market in Galway 10 years ago, apparently. And these people who were friends of Jesus, and they came up to me, and he kind of caught his eye, and he said, do you know that Jesus loves you? So I said, oh, I can't even remember what I said. Well, there's no Jesus really, or who is this Jesus guy? Or I can't remember, but he was trying to get away. Like 5 minutes later, okay, thank you, thanks. And I was, but hang on a minute, I was minding my own business. You came up to me, and you had. He was totally just bamboozled by anything that came out of my mouth, but it wasn't. It was very obvious he was going to get nowhere anyway. So he got off his soapbox and just tried to run away from me.
Yeah, that's
Hi.
brilliant.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi again. So it's crazy because I realized I'm surrounded by so-called normal people, but also so-called seekers. And it's crazy because the so-called normal people seems to have more freedom than the so-called seekers. The so-called normal people, they are just running in their own thing with all what they have, with the ups and the downs. They are not searching, they are just inside of their own bubble. And the so-called seekers, they are all the time running behind the carrot like this.
Well, see, that's all a
And
story now. All of that's the
yeah,
story.
yeah.
So there's
That's the
nobody
point.
that's not a seeker. That's not, once you feel separate, your sense of yearning for something.
Yeah. And I tried the whole time I tried to bring the normal people into a resonance, and the so-called seekers, I tried to bring them away from the seeking. So there was all the time a person that wanted to make something with them or with them. And I realized, okay, there was me that tried to bring them into a resonance. But now I see resonance is just resonance. And now it's gone. I don't have to do anything with the so-called normal people or the so-called
all of that is
seekers.
a story, and there's nobody to bring into anything. That's the incredible thing, because all there is already is wholeness and oneness.
Yeah.
And once
it makes me,
that's the thing. That's what happens really, is that people communicate and share an idea of oneness, and they see people that they feel that they're separate and suffering, and that they can guide these people to oneness and out of that constricted sense of being separate. And all that does is just imprison them and just continue that loop of separation. It feeds it, actually. That's all it does. But they're the communications that are really popular. They're really popular because energetically,
absolutely,
someone who goes to one of these characters, they very much sense that they're not really under threat at all, and that they're being fed, and they're hugely popular.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So unconditional love is actually to see someone as already just whole and complete, is to not see an individual.
This resonance, it's hard to say that, but this resonance gives me some distance also to both of this things. I'm not involved now into the normal, and not involved into the into the seeker's energy.
You're
It's
not
just
anything,
something
yeah.
like, yeah, out of all
All
of
of
this.
that, all of that is a story.
Yeah.
It's just that you are nothing being everything and everything being nothing, and it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
noble or describable. And there's
Yeah.
only,
I can sit in
excuse me,
both.
what appears to be happening. But
yeah,
you're not sitting
I
in
can
both
sit
though.
in both.
You're not
Yeah.
sitting in both though. That's also a
Okay.
story now.
Okay. Okay.
See, that's a
Great.
story also. You're not
Great.
sitting in both because there is
Great.
not both.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
both for there's
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
for the individual. There's two.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the normal people and there's the resonant people and there's this and it's all story.
Yeah.
What's being
It's a
pointed to
new
here
bubble.
is not knowable or describable. It's
Yeah.
simply that there's
Yeah.
nothing being everything and everything being nothing, and it's as simple as whatever appears to be happening is nothing being everything, and it's
Yeah.
already just this.
Yeah.
And in that arises a sense of being
Yeah.
separate energetically, and
Yeah.
that's what
Okay. I
appears
see.
to happen.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's not. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Great. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Kenneth, can I ask something, please?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no agenda with these meetings for people to see something because no one's ever going to see what's the attempt, whatever it is.
Because there is nobody. Because there is no one. So there's no there is no separate individual. It's a story. It's a artificial sense of being. So how would there be an agenda then? If there was an agenda, it would be there would have to be that there would be somebody who's separate to wholeness that has to find wholeness.
And I'm just thinking, if I can't get what's not being described, but what the attempt is to describe, if I can't ever get that, why would I come back to the meetings?
You're not coming back to the meetings. You're not
so
here. You're not talking right now. You're not speaking. There's speaking. You're not at a meeting. You didn't come here. You're not going to ever come back. to a meeting. That's what's been said. That's what's been said for the last hour and what apparent 15 minutes.
Kenneth, that's your hope, is that I'll never I'm joking. I do love the resonance of whatever it is that's being shared. And it's like, I know that I saying I know, I can't disagree with you. Like,
Doesn't matter. There's
one's
nothing
ever
to agree with or disagree with. There's nothing to be argued, or it's not a position on anything. It's not right, like what I'm saying. It's not true or right, or there's no truth, or
so even the words
it's
are
just what's
empty.
appearing to happen.
So the words coming from apparent Kenneth are just empty.
Yeah, but everything is empty. Everything that's empty. That's nothing, Doreen, nothing speaking, nothing handing, nothing computering. That's all it is. Everything is nothing and nothing is everything. But in that sense, that's not seen by the person because they feel that there's a I'm here and there's a world out there. There's no world out, there is no world out there and there's no in here. But while there's that sense that there is that, then there's a yearning. And what's being shared here is that yearning is for all this. It's just for this, it's for whatever appears to be happening. And that's heard, that's not being said to any individual because there's no interest in the individual here because it's only an appearance. So that just resonates as it resonates.
So everything is just on autopilot and no one's doing any of it.
Saying it's on autopilot even makes it sound like something happening. There's nothing even happening. There's only something happening when you feel you're there, and it's really that's about it happening to you.
So the apparent, because I think what's on autopilot is me and you having a conversation. And if there's no me and there's no you, I still think there's a conversation happening.
Yeah, because you feel like you're there talking. That's why it feels like a conversation happening. So
from Kenneth, although there isn't a Kenneth, but from that psychophysical organism, there's no conversation happening.
It's just what's appearing to happen. That's all. It's very obvious that it's just speaking, but there's no sense of being a person here because there is no person. So it's just there's only always, and that's all there is there too. But then what happens is that there's an addition then that and there's trying to figure something out that's not. It's not understandable, and that will just play out till it'll play out as it plays out.
I never thought I'd laugh when I heard you say there isn't a person, because normally I feel so much terror, but it is hilarious that we think, well, not you, but like we think we're people, and then that's all just a dream, isn't it? Thanks.
So it's very simple, it's very ordinary, it's very obvious. It's just in whatever appears to be happening. That's it. Not knowable or understandable. Thanks very much. I'll just put a link there. If anyone wants to contribute, those who do, it's much appreciated. Thank you. It's in the chat. The other thing is I am doing an afternoon meeting. I'm not sure it's going to be quite as long as I'd hoped. I was going to do kind of 4.5, 5 hour thing, but it's probably going to be a bit shorter, and it's next Saturday, but I'll send an email on it anyway, and I think everyone is on my email list. So I just couldn't, I missed quite a few people registering and stuff. So with this one, I'm going to do it a bit differently, and I'm just going to send out the link this time. And so that's the way it's just going to be a bit different. But that's the way it'll be. If you want to join, and kind of like a Sunday night, I guess. But I probably won't be letting people in and out. Letting people out. You're stuck at my meeting, you can't get out. But probably if you're not there by, it'll be a couple of hours. So that it'll be a small bit different to the Sunday night, but not hugely either, I guess. But so that's what's happening.
Can I ask real quick?
Yeah.
When do they change the time again? Because it's always hard to calculate over here.
Yeah, I know. I did have something in the email about it last week. I think you changed there. So you changed. So you're like New York is 4 hours behind us now, for instance, instead of being 5. But we're going to change. I think it is actually next week, on the 27th or 28th, I think.
Yeah,
So I think we're 28th. Yeah. So on the Saturday, it'll be the same. But it'll be the next day that it'll be back to, we'll also spring forward, apparently.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. So the best thing is probably just go UTC or Dublin, Ireland. And if you have any doubt, just Google what current time is for me, because that's what I'm at. But I know I do appreciate it. It's kind of confusing, all right, for people.
I found out that there's been some confusion with Nothing FM this week, because they have changed in United States but not here. So I have become an expert on this now. So it's easy to just Google and you will find a site where you can type in the date and the time and the place, and then you will see what it's going to be like that particular day. Because this day is right at the limit. So this is where you can really miss it. So
yeah, that's the thing. It's right around the time of changing that you get caught out, because you think, oh, this is at this time, and then, like you say, I'm doing that conference with them, a 2-day conference on I think it's 16th and 17th of April. But then if you think it's the same, it won't be. It'll be an hour different. Yeah, so you'd want to, anything like that, you'd want to check it up. Yeah. People used to ask me to. They used to email. I'd circulate my meeting and the date, and they'd email back, and and they'd want me to figure it out what time. They tell me we're there, so you just figure out what time it is for me, please. So then I'd have to. Oh yeah, people, huh?
You can tell them about
people
Google.
Are fun.
Have you heard about Google?
Have you heard about Google? Yeah. Anyway, that's the story. Really lovely to speak to you, and yeah, I'll probably do the Wednesday again. So it'll be Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening, and that's the story. Thanks.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good night.